You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hey, gorgeous. Welcome back to the Bright Life Podcast. We're continuing on in this New Year's conversation around how to discover your passion, your purpose, your next business idea or platform movement. And so today I wanted to walk through a few of the options you have when it comes to turning what you love into a business or a book or a whole social movement or nonprofit or anything like that. If you're anything like I was, once you get this idea for what you want to share and do with your life's work, then comes the question of how do you do it? And which option is right for you based on your personality and your schedule and your preferences and whether you're an introvert or extrovert. And so I want to break those things down for you, things that I wish I would have known earlier on in my journey. So from the start, you can choose the one that's right for you and feel really confident in your direction. All right, so let's talk about it. If you listened to the last episode and you discovered some things that you're passionate about, that you can find your purpose within, and that maybe you even want to share with others, then let's add on this episode, this second piece of how do you actually go choose the format to do that in. All right, so here is a few different options for you to consider. The two main businesses that you may decide between typically fall into two buckets. You can either do a done for you business, which we'll talk about, or you can do more of a coaching business. Now, I have done both of these, so I'm going to share some pros and cons to each and who each one could be right for. Now, a done for you business is when you do a service for someone else. So this could be like graphic design because you are doing the design for another business. This could be copywriting, which was what my business was in, where I was doing the writing of websites or other materials for a business. It could also be things like landscapers, interior designers, accountants, virtual assistants. All of these fall into that done for you bucket because you are doing a service for someone else. Now, a done for you business can be great if you love to work behind the scenes, where you don't necessarily want to be on calls or Zooms all day coaching people or consulting, but you love to get a project, get a deadline, and then go to work on your own schedule and your own creativity around it. That's what I loved about a done for you business, is that I could work any time of the day, anywhere in the world, and as long as I was good at organizing my deadlines and keeping my projects together, the business worked really well. Now, you may still have a few calls here and there, like checking in with clients, initial discovery calls, hearing what they're interested in and seeing if you're the right person for the job. But in general, once you get your clients, you can do the work for them on your own schedule, and it works really nicely. It's also great because once you get those first few clients, generally, if you build a relationship where you have ongoing work, you don't have to be doing a ton of marketing the rest of your business. So for anyone who wants to get those first few clients in and just do ongoing virtual assistant work or writing work or graphic design work, it can be really, really nice. They also often will give you referrals to your next clients, so it can be a little bit lighter on the marketing side. Now, on the other side of done for you businesses is more of a coaching or consulting business. And these are incredible in their own ways, and they definitely speak to different people and personalities. So a coaching business would be any business where you are a coach or mentor or even consultant to someone, teaching them or mentoring them how to do something. So this could be a nutrition coach, a fitness coach, a financial coach, a relationship coach, a business coach, and the list goes on. I've worked with coaches. I absolutely love coaches. I almost always have one in my life for something. And I have also been a coach. And so that, is a really fulfilling side of things as well. Now, the thing to be aware of with the coaching business is you are going to spend more of your time on calls or Zoom video type of interactions because you're coaching people. So you can structure your business in any way you want, where maybe you aren't as call heavy, but you're more messaging heavy, and people can message you anytime and you'll write back with your wisdom or advice to help mentor and coach them. So within all of these, there's a lot of options to design the business you love, but generally coaching businesses, you are doing a lot more output and extroversion. And so if you're someone who gets a lot of energy talking to people, mentoring, this can be a really good business for you. All right, so you have done for you and you have coaching. Do either of those sound like something you may be more interested in or inclined around? All right, think about that. And then I want to open this up where those are not the only options to create a business or a platform to share your message in these days. So I'll give you a few other ideas that maybe you haven't even thought of. Number one would be a podcast or a YouTube channel. So a podcast would be more of the sound audio, obviously, like you're listening to now. And a YouTube would be the video version of that, where maybe you're on YouTube sharing your videos. You could do vlogs, you could share your message just sitting and talking, that kind of a thing. These are such beautiful ways to grow a community, to share your expertise, and as your platforms grow, to earn income. And the way people typically do that is through advertisements, through sponsored posts, or sponsored videos, things like that. So once you get to a certain threshold with an audience, you can absolutely start working with brands and businesses that you believe in, who you want to share with your community, and they will pay you in exchange for that. Now, you can also use it to funnel into your other business. So you can share more of who you are and your expertise, and then also share your offerings, whether that's the done for you business or coaching business as well. And that's a good way to earn income from your podcast or your YouTube channel. Another thing that you could think about if you're like a writer or creative in that way is a book or a blog. So obviously I have written a book, Your Bright Life, and I've also for years, probably almost decades now, kept blogs. Blogs are where you share a post maybe once a week or a few times a week of sharing tips or educational information about something that you know about that we talked about in that last episode. If you found your passion and you love to talk about healthy recipes, then on a blog every week you could share a new healthy recipe. Something like that. And then obviously a book becomes this bigger body of work where maybe it's a whole bunch of blogs that you have started to see certain patterns in and you've combined into chapters of a book that you can share as kind of your main overarching message or body of work. Both of these are amazing if you have just so many things that you want to share and pass on and get it down into written form. You never know who could be reading your blog, who will pick up your book. And again, they could want to work with you from those even further, or it could just be your message that helps them and makes such a difference. Of course, you can sell your book if you're looking for income that way. You can also monetize your blog in much the same way we talked about with a podcast or a YouTube, where once you get a number of followers and people reading your blog, then you're in a position to work with brands and businesses, to have advertisements, and to bring in some money that way as well. So there's so many ways in this day and age to make an income from what you love. I think it's so exciting, and we've never been in an era like this where there's just so much possibility. So think about those things. Another one would be a nonprofit or a platform in some way. So sharing your message by building a nonprofit, which maybe isn't a business in the traditional sense, but through a nonprofit, you can host events, fundraising. So nonprofits can often bring in money from grants or donations, and they can use those funds to educate others and spread awareness about a cause that is close to your heart. There's a million ways to create a nonprofit. You can have like a physical site where people come and learn and do activities and events like I mentioned, or you can have more of an online platform where people can go and get education and then either donate or learn how to make a difference in their own communities. So there's so many different ways these days, but a nonprofit can be one as well. And then I want to give a final one, which if you're looking to just get started and dip your toes into sharing your message, You could also just build, not even just, but you could build a social media platform. You could use Instagram, you could do Pinterest, you could do TikTok these days, even on LinkedIn. But you could build an account where you're constantly sharing tips, tricks, awareness, lessons learned, fun, behind the scenes clips about whatever you're passionate about. So if you're passionate about travel, you could obviously share photos and videos from all of your trips. I get so inspired seeing people. There's this one couple who is checking off every country in the whole world. And I get so inspired seeing things like that it gives me ideas for where I want to travel. It breaks down stereotypes or fears that I have around different places or things I've heard in the news and media. And it makes me more excited to go and explore the world as well. So you never know the difference you're making just by sharing what you love and are passionate about. Similarly, I don't know about you, but I've gotten so many ideas for healthy recipes or healthy living, home style, things like that on Instagram or TikTok, even like beauty and wellness things. It's so fun to follow, but I'm also being educated along the way and I'm getting little tips and tricks and stuff. So you could be that for someone else. Maybe you have a lot of ideas around how to be an amazing parent and you could share that. Maybe you're really passionate about women's financial empowerment. So you could share tips and tricks and how to get started there. Maybe for you, it's how to DIY this thing that you see that's so expensive in a store. You can get home, get a few things from Target and put it together and make a beautiful piece for your home or art. So all of those could become social media platforms, and you never know what takes off. There's so many accounts these days where someone started them and people started following. If you can find something that's so specific and niche, sometimes those take off more than anything else. So you can do that. You can also make it more cause driven if you care about like animal welfare or our forests or the ocean cleanup or conservation or politics. You could make your own platforms around that, where you really start to raise awareness and make a difference. There's so many opportunities these days, and I hope one of those stands out to you. It doesn't have to. If all you want to do is just find more passion and purpose for fun and fulfillment, go for it. As I mentioned, you will bring that energy back to every single person in your life, your spouse, your kids, the barista you talk to at the coffee shop, the cashier at the grocery line. Like that creates a ripple effect you can't even see when you have more joy and fulfillment in your life. So don't overlook that. But if there is something in you that's nudging you to something different or to create something out of this idea and passion in your heart, then I believe that is sometimes your life nudging you into an adventure you cannot even see in this moment. Like I had no idea when I was in corporate, thinking of starting a business, wondering why I had this urge when everything was technically good in corporate. I had no idea at the time that it would lead me to a life where I could travel to now 50 countries and counting, where I could start businesses and podcasts and books and blogs and feel so fulfilled by doing it. And so the same could be true for you, but in whatever your version of a bright life is. It doesn't have to be the travel, it doesn't have to be a business or a book or a podcast, but whatever's calling to you, I trust is for a reason. And so maybe explore some of these ideas. Again, the ones that stand out to me, or that I have experience in and can pass on as ideas, would be either like the done for you direction of a business where you're doing a service for someone else, or the coaching side of a business where you're coaching a few clients on something that you've gone through, that you've learned about, that you can help them with. And then kind of outside of the traditional business models, but definitely things that could still be a business these days, would be a podcast, a YouTube channel, a book, a blog, a nonprofit, a social media account or platform. So there's so many different ideas. And as I was thinking through this podcast episode, I put everything together into a workbook because there just kept blossoming into more and more ideas and ways you could narrow your focus and find what's right for you. So if that's interesting to you, I will put a link for that in the show notes of this podcast. And I will also put it on my website under free resources. So you can check that out for how to discover your next brilliant business idea, whether it is a traditional business or anything else. And then, of course, I'm always open to coaching on that. And I have courses on my website as well that help you with every stage of bringing a dream to life, from brainstorming it all the way down to managing the fears that come up, to break it into doable actions and more. So you can kind of choose where you're at in what season, and then find the mini course that supports you and helps make it so tangible for you now. So I hope those give you some ideas and maybe some direction if you have this nudge. And I would love to hear what you uncover. So definitely let me know. Thank you so much for listening in. If you enjoyed this episode, check out the links in the show notes or on my website, hijessicajohnson.com, where you can find my books, courses, and opportunities to mentor with me. Or if you haven't yet, I would so appreciate a quick review wherever you listen to this podcast, as it helps others discover it too. Thanks again for being part of this community, and I'll talk to you again soon.